The shape-shifting Deepal E07 Multitruck has arrived in Australia finally, and this fully electric 5-seat machine is unlike anything else out there. It turns from an SUV with a coupe roofline into a practical pickup truck style vehicle, and it's kind of like a cyber crewman, but for the future. So in this review, I'm going to tell you all about it. If you don't know what a crewman is, make sure you Google it, and let's get to it. Thanks for subscribing. Before we get on with it, I want to call out the fact that I actually named this car. So I called it the Multitruck in my earlier review, and Deepal Australia thought that was such a good idea. They've rolled it out as the name for it in Australia. It's still called the Deepal E07, but Multitruck is part of the name, and I'm pretty proud of that, honestly. But let's talk about what you're getting as standard in the two different grades that are available. There is a rear-wheel drive at $64,900 plus on-road costs, and then there's the all-wheel drive version, which adds an extra motor and a heap more power and torque. They get the same battery, which I'll tell you about shortly, but it does add more performance to the equation and a couple of extra features as well, but it costs 74 grand. So it might not be for everyone's budget, obviously, but it is very well equipped. No matter which version you pick, you're getting things like full LED lighting all around the car. You've got 21-inch alloy wheels as standard with good tires too. You've got that transformable rear section with the glass dome roof, and it also has voice control, which I'll show you shortly how that works from the outside, and it works on the inside too. Now, there's plenty of other great features here, like electric tailgate, electric rear seat folding. There's a 300 kilo capacity for that payload area. And then on the inside, you're getting Nappa leather seats with heating, cooling, and massage function. And you've got a 15-inch plus screen in there with wireless Apple CarPlay, and Android Auto is coming very soon too. Plus, if you buy the top spec one, you get sat-nav standard as well. There's heaps and heaps and heaps of standard gear in this vehicle. But what else could you consider if you're thinking about a ute or an SUV or something in between? Well, I've got some options that you might want to think about. It's kind of difficult to call out best alternatives to this particular vehicle because it's unlike anything else out there. There's nothing that does what this can do, but there are some options that do other things and do them very well. So firstly, the BYD Shark 6. If you're thinking plug-in hybrid ute might be a good option for you, if electrification is not the full name of the game for you, it could be fantastic because it starts at a low price point. It has four-wheel drive as standard. It's a dual cab ute. Well, a more traditional element to it that might be more appealing when it comes to resale, and also it is cheaper to buy. Like I said, it's got plenty of standard spec and tech for the money. It's more popular, and it's probably going to continue to be more popular than a vehicle like this. Secondly, if you just want a really practical electric vehicle, I reckon the Model Y from Tesla could be a very good choice because it might not necessarily be the biggest electric SUV, but it does have big practicality. It's got a huge boot with a massive well underneath the boot floor. It's got a huge frunk as well, and it is a pretty practical thing with a good price point and a couple of different versions available. One with all-wheel drive if you want. It costs a fair bit less than this too, so that might be worth considering. Otherwise, you might want to wait and see if Geely brings the Radara ute to Australia. It probably will, and it'll probably be very soon. It'll be fully electric, and maybe there might be a plug-in hybrid version of it later on as well. And it is an interesting option. It's going to be the closest thing to this if it comes. But what do you think? Is this going to be the right car for you, or one of those, or something else? Have your say in the comments. Righto, let's size up this electric SUV ute combination vehicle. It is pretty big, people. Might be bigger than you actually think it is because it's more than 5 meters long, and it does have a more than 3 meter long wheelbase. So it is huge. I'll put all the dimensions on your screen. It just doesn't look huge because of its swoopy roofline and its unconventional ute-like calibration. So let's talk about ground clearance as well, because it does have adaptive air suspension and it's height adjustable. So you can have it down to 133 millimeters and up to 223 millimeters in its highest position. And it also has 600 mils of wading depth. Now, let's talk about this rear end, because it is obviously the difference compared to lots of other vehicles on the market. Just have a look at that. It's very peculiar, but very, very cool in my opinion. So let's have a look at how things work here. Okay, I'm going to try the voice control thing and see how it works. Hi Deepal. Right here. One click open. So the brand is working on some different voice controls that are maybe a bit more natural to Aussie speak, but that shows you, you can open it using voice control. So if you've got your hands full, that's going to be so handy. You can see there, it's lowered the tailgate. It's also put down the rear glass there behind the rear seats and pushed back the dome. So essentially, it's made it into the transforming ute that it's supposed to be. So what about underneath the boot floor? Is there anything worth thinking about? Well, you do have a tire repair kit and a safety triangle, but you don't have a spare. And that could be a really big consideration for an SUV crossover ute vehicle like this. I mean, if it's an all-wheel drive capable choice, then, well, a spare might be something that you would be wishing for. And there are some good controls back here as well. So if you want to, you can lower the seats down and it moves the front seats forward, as you can probably see there. It's going to lower those seats down and then it's going to turn this into a flatbed style 2-seat pickup truck. It might just take a while, so I might fast forward this. There we go. So I'm just going to go around and open that down, just one sec. And as you can see, that is going to be super handy if you find yourself heading to IKEA or Bunnings or whatever it may be. You've got extra practicality and extra space on offer if you need it. Now there are some interesting considerations in the back here. There are some little hooks on the side with a 10 kilo mass between them, so that's good. There's lighting, of course. And over here, you'll see that there is a vehicle to load capability. So let me just open it. It's a bit fiddly one-handed, one sec. And there you go. You can see you've got a power point, you've got USB ports, and you've got a 12 volt in there. And there's other vehicle to load capability as well. You've got some pretty good considerations when it comes to these storage elements. And as you can see, you can control different bits of the tailgate here as well. Now you can drive this vehicle with the tailgate down, just so long as your number plate is visible, which it isn't. So you might have to invest in some kind of sign at the back with your number plate on it. But yes, it is an interesting option and very peculiar and very different to anything else out there. But what do you think? Is that going to be useful or is it just a gimmick? Have you say in the comments. Now, let me put it all back together just so we see what happens here. Just close that. Close that. So if you did have boxes with valuables like a TV or something in there, you could still close it all up and it will slowly close for you. And yes, you can drive with the glass down or up, doesn't really matter. It basically is a ute if you need it to be a ute, or it can be a secure parcel carrier if you don't. Oh, and it also has a front trunk, which has a good capacity, 130 litres or so, and it's got 2 drainage points, so you could fill it up with ice when you go camping. Okay, you don't have to have the interior in orange, but you can get it with orange if you wish. And there's now an orange exterior color as well, but this does have a serious amount of wow factor. These seats are exceptional, well, to a degree. They're comfy, but they're not that supportive. And if you like a well-bolstered seat, one that keeps you in your spot, this might not be great for you, but it does have heaps of functionality: heating, ventilation, and massage function. So the material quality is great. It is a Napa leather seat and you've got this beautiful trim that runs up onto the dashboard. You'll notice there you've got heaps and heaps of space because there is no glove box intrusion, and it does mean that, well, you lose that little bit of practicality, but it's got plenty of other smarts when it comes to the storage. I'll show you that in a sec, but let me show you first what we're dealing with in front of the driver. So no conventional driver info screen, but there is a head-up display, which you can probably see right there, and you can also probably see Jacob from Carsos. But here you'll also see you've got your driver monitoring camera system. I'll tell you a little bit about that later on. And you've got this very blank looking steering wheel, but those controls are used for quite a bit, including you can press this button right here and that'll give you your surround view camera system show up right there for you to play with, and you can put it in 3D mode and clear mode, and I mean, it's got plenty going on there. It's also got intelligent parking and trace reverse, so it can basically remember where you are and where you just came into and reverse out for you if that's a problem for you. That's just really great tech. Now, you've also got some other little controls here that you will have to use quite a bit. So you've got cruise control on the stalk there. You push down to put it into cruise control, and then you can adjust it using the scroll wheel there. And you've got some other voice control and volume and stuff there too. So there's plenty of controllability from this very blank looking steering wheel, but it's multifunction, so that's kind of neat. And on this side, you've got a high beam light and blinkers and wipers as well, or washers if you need it, because it's got auto wipers standard. Now, this other screen here does have a speedo up the top there if you don't like the fact that you've got to look at the head-up display, but it also has heaps and heaps of other stuff that you might want to pay attention to. So if you like the idea of lots of tech inside of cars, then you're going to like this car, because it does have lots and lots of menus with lots and lots of controls to allow you to adjust things about the drive. I'm not going to go into heaps of detail, because if you are thinking about this car, just go and sit in one and see if you can live with the controls here. I think once you've got it all set up to your preferences, you will find that it is pretty easy to get along with. One thing I will say, if you are planning to turn off the safety systems, you'll need to learn this section here, IntelliDrive. You can turn it off and it'll stay off. Thumbs up for that. And you've also got a number of other menus here. Now, the display, you can adjust the angle of the screen. That's right, it does have a adjustable screen, so you can make it just be center if you want to, or you can make it face the passenger if they're putting something into CarPlay, whatever it may be. That is handy, I would say. And there's other things like you can adjust what's on your head-up display. You can adjust whether it's the snow mode on the head-up display. So you might be able to see there, it's now orange rather than white. So that is all excellent. And you've also got much adjustment when it comes to your sound and different elements of the sound modes. Connectivity as well, of course, and yes, it does have Apple CarPlay, and Android Auto is coming, so you can set favorites down here. So if you don't want it to be the Bluetooth phone one, you can make it Apple CarPlay, and then it'll be Apple CarPlay at the touch of a fingerprint. And there you go. It's there and it works well. I've got to say, I'm pretty impressed with the integration of how it all works with this screen. You do have this home bar that stays at the bottom as well. So you've quickly got demister if you need it. You've got your temperature adjustment there, so you can just tap and slide. And you've also got a fan speed adjuster, which we'll show you on the screen here. And you can also adjust what's happening in the rear if you want to too. And that is very, very easy to get your head around. But if you want to, you can also use your voice control to do that. And you've got your seat controls here as well with your massage choices. So yep, there's a buttocks mode. Yes, there is a buttocks mode, and there's other modes as well, of course. And your ventilation and heating, so vented, heated front and rear window seats, and a heated steering wheel. You are not missing out on very much in this car. In fact, you're bloody almost missing out on nothing. Now, it's also got a drop-down menu here. If you do want to set this up to suit some specific things, you do have to do your mirror adjustment using the steering wheel controls. But yes, it's got lots and lots of adjustability and configurability, and the fact that it will remember your preferences when it comes to the safety stuff is fantastic. There's a dash cam system as well, Sentry mode too, and you've got a number of different fun things that you might want to play with, including a music light show, so it'll put lights on the outside and make it all sparkly and fun for your kids to enjoy. Now, I think that this is a pretty agreeable thing. It's got sat-nav in the high grade version if you want to use the sat-nav instead of your phone. You've got tire pressure monitoring there too, and you can also keep an eye on what's been happening with your efficiency. So yep, that's pretty good. And what's happening with your battery spec as well. So, I mean, honestly, is it missing anything? I don't really think so. I think it's pretty bloody amazing in terms of what is on offer on the screen. Now let's have a look at what else is on offer in this interior. Starting down here, you do have USB-A and C ports. There's a big storage tray down there, as I can show you like so, and there's a micro USB thing down there so you can set up your dash cam Sentry system, wireless phone charging at 50 watts with ventilation so it won't overheat your phone. You've got some cup holders there as well, a openable glove box with ventilation in there too, so that's handy, and it's deep, like very deep. And you've got decent sized pockets in the doors. They're maybe not the best shape for bottles, so keep that in mind. Like I said, no glove box. Overhead, you've got some illuminated vanity mirrors. Of course, there's even a makeup mode if you want to use that, and they don't adjust. So that might be a little bit of a problem on some afternoon drives. Also, no overhead grab handle for the driver, but you do also have up here an SOS call function. So if you are in trouble, you can call for help. Got little touch sensitive lights just like in the back, and there's a camera there for selfie mode if you want to do selfie mode. One thing I will say, the visibility through this mirror is maybe not as good as it could be because of the split between the glass at the very back. I reckon a digital camera mirror would be the best fit for this vehicle. Sadly not available yet. Maybe it will be later on. But I want to also call out, before we get into the back seat, you've got some interesting controls for your windows. So you'd think push back would put the window down. As you can see, no, push forward and that'll put the window down. So that's a bit weird. But also you can do voice control for your windows if you wish. And you've got a button to open the door, but there is an emergency opener down there if you need it. So yes, pretty bloody impressive, people. Lots of stuff. And it feels premium as well. Not like some of the others out there for this kind of money, which maybe don't feel as special as this. But let's jump into the back seat and see what the space is like. Okay, let's have a look at the back seat space here. This seat is set for me. I'm 6 foot tall, and that is a lot of room in front of my legs. That seat is, well, a long way away. I've got lots of foot room as well, and the knees, they're not too high up. Thankfully also lots of headroom too, so this is a roomy backseat experience. It does have plenty of amazing features as well. So I can recline and adjust the seat so I can sit it further forward, or I can lower it back and also like really lie down back here. So if you are a backseat snoozer, you might really love that you've got that. There's also massage functionality for this back seat too, so that is pretty exceptional, I would say. And doesn't stop there, people. Let's have a look at these controls down here. We have ventilation for your rear seats and heating for your rear seats. And there's obviously a climate control system here as well, and it can oscillate like so, like your home aircon. So it'll keep the air flowing around, which is pretty special, I reckon. Now, you've also got a very clever thing right here. So those little controls right there are for your rear glass. That's right, you can lower the rear glass if you need to grab something from the boot. You can just put your hand through and grab it and then put it back up if you want to. So that means you are getting super practicality in the back of this car, and it's also got all the other stuff that you would expect. You've got map pockets like so, big pockets down there as well. You've got an emergency door handle there because you've got the door poppers just like up front, and soft padding where you would expect it. Up here, probably the cheapest feeling thing in the car is the grab handle. It doesn't really matter though. You've got this nice mottled light finish, not mottled, but you know what I mean. And you've also got these little attachment points where you might be able to put an accessory so you can hold an iPad or a screen or whatever it may be. Now, some other considerations here. You do have ISOFIX points in the window seats, but there's only 2 top tether points, 1 for each window seat. There is no middle top tether. I don't think that's going to be a deal breaker unless you are a family of 3 and this was going to be your only car, but you do have a nice inclusion here, flip down armrest with some cup holders. And honestly, this is unlike anything I've sampled at this price. In fact, it's, again, like what you'd be getting if you were paying 3 times the money in terms of the backseat comfort and amazement experience here. It's excellent. Righto, what are the powertrain options? Well, the rear-wheel drive one has a single electric motor at the back, 252 kilowatts, 365 Newton meters, and it can do 0 to 100 in 6.7 seconds, so it's no slouch. But if you want the fast one, well, the all-wheel drive is the one to go for. 2 electric motors, outputting 440 kilowatts and 645 Newton meters, with all-wheel drive and a 0 to 100 time of 3.9 seconds. That is faster than some so-called supercars. So, what do you think? Which one would you pick? Let's talk about range and charging, because there's some notes to take there too. Both versions of this electric 5-seater come with an 89.98 kilowatt hour NMC battery pack. There are 2 different levels of range consideration though. So the rear wheel drive, which is a single motor and a little bit lighter, does have 550 k's of WLTP rated driving range. And then the all-wheel drive doesn't pay too big of a penalty, considering it does have a whole heap more power, as I told you just before, but 510 k's of EV driving range. Now, when it comes to AC charging, keep this in mind. Your AC capability is just 7 kilowatts, which might be an issue for some people. It means that your charging time at 7 kilowatts will be between 13 and 16 hours if you are using AC power, because it doesn't have the 3-phase capability. But there is very good DC fast charging, 240 kilowatt DC charging, which should mean a 30 to 80% recharge at a rapid charger that can output that kind of rate in about 15 minutes. So if you're the sort of person who is okay with waiting for it to charge on AC, or maybe is more interested in the DC charging on the road trip capability, it's going to tick that box pretty well, I would say. Also worth noting the vehicle to load capability here. So it does have up to 6.6 kilowatt vehicle to load, and vehicle to vehicle is possible as well. So it's going to be a pretty practical thing for people who want to use their battery for more than just driving. Okay, before we get going, I just want to call out the fact that if you share a car with someone else who's a different size to you, you are going to want to set up your settings to who you are, because, well, the steering wheel doesn't have actual adjustment on it. You've got to use the screen to do that, just like you do the mirrors. So yeah, keep that in mind, just like a Tesla in some ways. But let's go drive it. I've got to say, people, I've spent a fair few hours in this car today, and I am impressed in a lot of ways with the way that it behaves. My biggest issue with it is the seat bolstering. It just doesn't hold you enough in your seat. So if you, well, don't like feeling like you're rolling around a little bit in your seat, you might find that that could be an issue for you, because it's been a bit of an issue for me. Now, this surface that I'm driving on right now is terrible. It is even got signage to tell you that it's shit house, and it is showing me that the air suspension, which you get as standard in this vehicle, is exceptionally good. I'm going to go over this section on purpose. It's terrible, like rutted, pockmarked, bumpy, horrible. I can't feel barely any of that. It's excellent in terms of the way that it's coping with that sort of surface, and also the fact that it's got 21-inch wheels with relatively low profile Michelin tires as standard. Nice touch there. Having Michelins rather than some no-name tires is a big plus, because it does make it feel a bit more agile than it might otherwise feel, and it does feel quite heavy. So keep that in mind. If you haven't driven something that weighs this much, I'll put the weight on your screen now just as a reminder. It is a hefty machine because it's got a huge battery and it's quite large, so keep that in mind. But I do think that the way that it behaves feels a little bit smaller than it is, and that's probably good, although the steering is a bit slow feeling. So once you start to ask a bit of it, you might find that it's not the supercar that you might be thinking with those kind of acceleration numbers that it could be. But hey, who's surprised at that? It's a family-friendly multi-purpose vehicle, not a supercar. But it does have crazy acceleration, so if you put your foot down, apparently I'm exceeding the speed limit of 80 kilometers an hour. So you can turn that off, like I said, but it is pretty amazing how much acceleration this vehicle has. This is the all-wheel drive version, so it's the fast one, and it's bloody fast, people. You're not going to need any faster than this, let me tell you. And I also want to call out the fact that you do have adjustability to the way that it drives, so you can change things. You can make it have more assertive regen braking if you want to, or softer. You can make the suspension softer or harder. You can have it set in the adaptive mode, so basically figure out what's going on for you. And it's simpler to drive than you might be expecting for something that is 5 meters long and quite broad. It doesn't feel massive on the road. Apart from maybe when you start to find some corners. Now, the actual brake pedal feel is pretty well measured. It's not perfect, but it does feel pretty good, as is the case with lots of vehicles with the regen braking system. Can feel a bit strange underfoot, but I think it's pretty decent. And it's got the adaptive cruise control stuff, so if you do want to let the car do the stopping and starting for you in some situations, it can. But be aware, at lower speeds, it can take a fair bit of turning. It's got a long wheelbase, and that means that your regular U-turn might become a 3 or 5 point turn. So just remember that. Also, want to call out the refinement I've driven on the freeway, on the highway, on country roads like I am now for this launch event. So not my usual testing, but still representative across a mix of driving, and it is pretty good in terms of the refinement. There's not too much wind noise, way less tire noise than I was expecting as well, and it's generally like luxury levels of comfort and refinement, especially considering the ride comforts. There are a couple of numbers to consider if you're thinking about the efficiency of this vehicle. Just like petrol and diesel, the lower the number the better. I'll put the rear wheel drive claimed number on your screen, so kilowatt hours per 100, and then the all-wheel drive, because it's got dual motor, it's heavier, it's got more power and torque, so it does have a higher number. Now, in practice, I've seen some pretty impressive numbers over this test drive, which has included country driving like I'm doing right now, but also a bit of stop-start and urban and some freeway driving as well. And so a pretty good mix of driving, I would say. But yes, on screen, you'll see what I saw in the rear wheel drive. Less than 17 kilowatt hours per 100 is good for a vehicle like this, and closer to 20 for the dual motor all-wheel drive, which is still impressively efficient. Should mean you'll be able to get a good amount of EV driving range from a refill. So I'm impressed. I'm really impressed. There is no safety rating for this vehicle just yet, but it does have a whole host of active safety gear to achieve a high score if it's put through the rigmarole. So there's things like autonomous emergency braking with pedestrian and cyclist detection. You've got lane keeping and advanced lane keeping tech, so it can do a bit of steering for you on cruise control. There's also blind spot monitoring and rear cross traffic alert, and you've got a surround view camera as standard and parking sensors too, and an auto reversing assistant. And there's a driver monitoring camera, but you can turn it off if you don't like it and it'll stay off, which is great. There's also speed sign recognition, which will turn off and stay off if you don't like it, and same with the lane keeping. So they've really learned some lessons from the earlier Deepal models in Australia, and good on them for that, because this makes it a lot more livable on the daily, let me tell you. Now, when it comes to your airbags, you've got 8. There's dual front, there's front side and rear side, and curtain coverage for both rows of seats, but no front center airbag, which is maybe a little bit peculiar for this size of vehicle. Okay, let's talk about the ownership promise for this vehicle. So there is a 7-year, 160,000 kilometer warranty for the vehicle itself, but the battery has a massive 8-year, 240,000 K warranty, which is better than lots of the rivals out there. Now, when it comes to the servicing, it's every 12 months or 20,000 kilometers, and there is a capped price servicing plan for 7 years or 140,000 Ks as well. And when it comes to the average service cost, you'll see that on your screen now over the capped price plan, plus the roadside considerations are on your screen too. So I think the promise is pretty good when it comes to the ownership of this SUV style thing, don't you? If you're the sort of person who likes to think outside the box and you need an electric vehicle, go and have a look at this. You might be surprised how practical, how thoughtful, how comfortable, and how enjoyable it is as well. And while the price might be a little bit high for some people, remember you're getting a huge battery with lots of range and so much standard tech, it embarrasses some cars 3 times its price. So what do you think about it? Have your say in the comments section. Would you choose this car? Would you go with a new brand like this? I'd love to hear from you. Thanks for watching, thanks for subscribing, and I'll see you when I see ya.